Ladies, let me tell you this. When a man misses you, he can try to act tough. He can try to act like he doesn't care, but his actions will always betray him. He might hide his words, but his heart. It tells on him every single time. When a man really misses you, when he's sitting there realizing what you bring to his life, trust me, he can't hide it. Oh, he'll try. He'll try to play it cool, walk around like he's fine, like he's unbothered. But a man's heart, it don't lie. See, fellas are taught from a young age, don't be too emotional. Don't let nobody see you sweat. But when it comes to a woman, he truly cares about all that training gone out the window, because missing somebody, it leaks out of you. Now let me break it down. First sign, he gets restless. He can't sit still. He'll be pacing around, checking his phone, looking at old pictures, scrolling back through those text messages y'all shared. He'll hit that last scene on your social media, wondering who you talking to, what you doing. And the crazy part, he'll swear he ain't thinking about you, but his every move is screaming your name. Second sign, he starts accidentally reaching out. You ever notice how a man will suddenly text you something that don't even make sense? Hey, you still got that recipe for that chicken? Man, stop lying. You don't want no chicken, you want her. Or he'll call like, hey, did I leave my hoodie over there? Brother, that was 8 months ago. That hoodie been gone. What you really looking for is an excuse to hear her voice. Third sign, he remembers the little stuff. Let me tell you, men are not built to remember details. We forget birthdays, anniversaries, sometimes even what day it is. But when he misses you, suddenly he remembers the way you laugh when you watch your favorite show, the color you wore on your first date, the way you like your coffee. That's how you know it's real. Because missing somebody makes a man rewind the highlight reel of his life, and you're the star of it. Now here's the part y'all gotta understand. A man who misses you ain't just thinking about the past, he's thinking about the future. That missing turns into planning. He starts wondering, how do I get her back? How do I keep her this time? Because see, when a man truly feels your absence, he finally sees your value. He realizes life without you is like a song with no music, a joke with no punchline. And let me give you the biggest giveaway of them all. His pride starts slipping.
Oh, yeah.
That tough macho act. Gone. Because when missing turns into longing, and longing turns into regret, a man will do what he swore he'd never do. Admit he was wrong, admit he messed up, admit he needs you. And baby, when a man gets to that point, that's when you know he can't hide it no more. So ladies, don't be fooled by the silence. Don't be tricked by the cool face he's putting on. When a man misses you, his whole spirit tells on him. His words, his actions, his late night texts, his sudden calls, his goofy excuses, all of it is just his heart saying one thing: I need you back in my life. That's the truth. When a man misses you, the very first thing that shows up in his behavior is restlessness. And this restlessness is not the ordinary kind where someone is just bored or looking for something to do. It is the kind that eats away at him, the kind that makes it hard for him to focus on the simplest tasks. And it's often the easiest thing to notice, because men who are usually calm and steady suddenly find themselves pacing around, scrolling aimlessly on their phones, picking things up and putting them back down without reason. And even though he may never say out loud that he's missing you, his body language and his habits start to tell the story louder than his words ever could. Because when a man is missing a woman, his mind starts running in circles and his heart won't let him rest. He'll be sitting at work, staring at his computer screen, but nothing really sticks. The words on the page blur together because in the back of his mind, there's only one thought replaying, and that thought is you. And instead of focusing on the meeting he's supposed to be attending or the assignment on his desk, he's busy wondering what you're doing right now, who you might be talking to, whether you're laughing at somebody else's joke the way you used to laugh at his. And that wonder creates an ache, and that ache is exactly what drives the restlessness, because a man can't sit still when his heart is unsettled. At night it gets worse, because that's when distractions fall away. That's when silence makes everything louder, and he'll find himself tossing and turning, grabbing his phone, checking notifications that aren't even there, refreshing your profile just to see if you posted something. And when nothing new appears, he'll scroll back, way back into the memories, looking at old pictures, reading old texts, listening to songs that remind him of you. And he might tell himself he's just killing time, but the truth is he's trying to fill the space that you left. And no matter how many videos he watches or how much noise he surrounds himself with, the restlessness doesn't stop, because you can't substitute what you miss most with distractions. You'll also see it in how he talks to other people, because when a man is restless from missing someone, his friends notice it, his family notices it, people around him notice that his patience is shorter, his attention span is weaker, and his mood swings more easily. One moment he's laughing louder than usual, the next moment he's quiet, withdrawn, staring into space. And that's because his mind is always bouncing back to you, and no matter how much he tries to push it down, it shows up in the cracks of his behavior, slipping out without his permission. So even when he wants to act tough or pretend like nothing bothers him, the restlessness gives him away. Sometimes that restlessness even pushes him into overcompensating, so he may suddenly take on more work, go out more, hang with people he doesn't even care much about, or start new hobbies just to keep himself busy. But the problem is he can be surrounded by noise, music, friends, laughter, yet he still feels unsettled. And that's because restlessness born from missing someone doesn't go away with activity. It follows him everywhere he goes. It sits in the back of his mind like a constant hum, and no matter how fast he runs or how busy he gets, the feeling that something important is missing always drags him back. And then there's the little unconscious things, like checking his phone without realizing it, unlocking it and staring at the screen, hoping maybe your name will pop up, typing out a message and then deleting it before sending, opening your picture and just staring at it, not because he plans to reach out, but because he can't help himself. And these small actions, repeated over and over, are what make the restlessness visible. They're proof that the missing is real, because when a man is fine, he doesn't do that. When a man has peace, he doesn't act like that. But when he's restless from missing you, he can't control it. It just happens. And every move he makes is a silent confession that he's not okay without you. When a man misses you, one of the clearest giveaways is how he starts reaching out in little ways that don't look obvious at first, and sometimes he convinces himself he's being slick, like he's keeping it casual. But the truth is, when a man's heart is restless, he will find reasons to make contact, no matter how small or how silly those reasons may sound. And it usually shows up in those accidental messages the ones that don't really have any weight but are just enough to open a door to hear from you again, because missing you creates an itch he can't scratch by himself. So he starts sending those casual texts, the ones that say things like, hey, you still got that book I lent you? Or what was the name of that restaurant you mentioned once? And when you read it, you already know he's not really asking about books or restaurants. He's just looking for a reason to slide back into your space. It's almost funny how transparent it is, because men who would usually never bother with small talk suddenly become creative with excuses. He'll hit you with, did I leave my jacket over there? Even though both of you know that jacket went missing months ago. Or he'll call asking for advice on something random, like, what detergent was that you said worked better? As if he can't Google it. But see, that's how missing works. It makes him lower his guard without realizing it. And instead of flat out saying, I miss you, he tries to package it in little moments of connection that feel safer. Because for him, reaching out directly feels like admitting too much, but his need to close the gap between you and him is stronger than his pride. And the thing is, these accidental contacts rarely happen once, because once he breaks the silence, even in the smallest way, it gets easier for him to keep finding reasons. So what starts as one random text suddenly turns into a pattern. Every couple of days, there's a new message. Every week, there's a new excuse. And each time, he tries to make it sound like it's not about you, but deep down, both of you know that's exactly what it's about, because the more a man misses you, the more he wants to reestablish some kind of bridge to you. Even if he pretends it's just coincidence, sometimes it's not even texts. Sometimes it's likes on your posts, reactions to your stories, little comments that don't carry much weight on the surface, but are really just him raising his hand saying, I'm still here. I'm still thinking about you. And when he does this, it's his way of keeping himself present in your world, because missing you makes him fear being forgotten. And so those accidental contacts are his strategy to remind you that he hasn't gone away, that he still wants your attention, that he's still trying to find a way back into your orbit. Now, what's even more telling is how he times it, because men who miss you tend to reach out late at night or early in the morning. And that's not random. That's when emotions run the highest, when his guard is down, when distractions fade away, and that's when the missing becomes unbearable. So instead of sleeping, he ends up staring at your number, debating with himself whether to hit send, and 9 times out of 10 he does, because missing you is stronger than his pride at that hour. And when that message comes through, no matter how casual it reads, you can almost hear the unspoken words underneath it. He may also play the game of pretending it's accidental, like calling and then acting surprised, or I didn't mean to dial you, or sending a text and then saying, sorry, wrong person. But no, it wasn't wrong. It wasn't accidental. It was deliberate, because missing you makes him restless enough to test the waters, to see if you'll bite, to see if the door is still open. And even if he denies it, the pattern of behavior reveals the truth, because people don't accidentally reach out over and over again. It's driven by something deeper. And the more he misses you, the more frequent and clumsy these accidental contacts become, because restraint starts slipping. He goes from once in a while to almost regularly. And even if he's trying to make it sound lighthearted, his consistency betrays his feelings, because reaching out once can be explained away, but reaching out repeatedly in different ways on different days shows a need that he can't cover up. And that need is nothing but his heart reminding him of what's missing in his life and his mind pushing him to reach for you, even if he doesn't have the courage to admit it directly. When a man misses you, something very unusual begins to happen because suddenly his memory sharpens in ways it normally never does. And this is one of the clearest signs you can notice, because men in general are not wired to hold on to the small details. They may forget a birthday. They may forget an anniversary. Sometimes they forget what you told them just yesterday. But when he misses you, his mind replays everything that mattered about you. And in those quiet moments, when he feels the ache of your absence, he begins to recall the little things that made you unique, the small details that once might have slipped by him now come back with force. And he starts to hold on to them as if they are treasures. He remembers the way you laughed at something silly, not just the sound of it, but the exact way your eyes lit up when you laughed, the way you tilted your head back just slightly. And that memory alone can trigger a wave of emotion inside him, because missing you makes every little detail turn into something precious. And those details play on a loop in his mind. He can be sitting in traffic or lying awake at night, and suddenly that memory of your laugh comes back to him, and with it comes a rush of longing he can't shake off. And he finds himself smiling one second, then frowning the next, because he realizes how much he wants to experience that moment again. He remembers the way you liked your coffee or tea, the exact order you made, whether you added sugar or not, whether you wanted it strong or light. And though this seems like a small, almost meaningless thing, when a man misses you, even those ordinary details feel like deep connections, and he starts wondering if anyone else will ever care about those things the way you did, because he knows in his heart that no one else will order it exactly how you did. No one else will sip it the way you sipped it. And that realization deepens the sense of missing. He remembers the way you wore your hair, how you'd change it depending on your mood, how you'd let it down on some days or tie it up on others. And he begins to picture it in his mind so clearly that it almost feels like you're right there in front of him. And those visions become powerful reminders of how connected he felt to you. And they replay over and over, uninvited, because missing someone means your mind constantly pulls images of them back into your awareness. He remembers the way you reacted to his jokes, whether you rolled your eyes when they weren't funny or laughed louder than anyone else when he got it right. And this memory fuels both pride and longing, because he starts to realize he hasn't made anyone laugh the way he made you laugh. And that recognition hits him in a way that makes him restless, because laughter between two people builds a kind of intimacy that's hard to replicate. And once it's gone, a man who truly misses you will find himself chasing the ghost of that sound in his mind. He remembers the way you made him feel understood, the way you listened when he spoke, how you caught on to things he didn't even say. And when he's missing you, he replays those moments where he felt seen, because those moments stand out the most in the silence of separation. And the memory of them makes him realize how rare and valuable they were. And that realization stirs up the ache of loss even deeper, because he knows that not everyone is capable of giving that kind of understanding, and it makes him crave it again more than anything else. And then there are the small, almost invisible details that most people wouldn't notice, but he does when he's missing you. The way you smelled when you walked into a room, the particular perfume you wore, the way your voice softened at certain times of the day, even the way you signed your texts with a certain emoji or phrase. All of these tiny details come flooding back when a man is in the grip of missing someone, because the heart has a way of magnifying what the eyes often overlook. And once those details are etched into his memory, they become the anchors that tie him to you even when you're not there. This is why when a man misses you, you'll see him bringing up things you never expected him to remember. You'll hear him talk about moments you thought had slipped away. And you'll notice how he seems to treasure things he once brushed off, because missing you forces him to acknowledge how important those little things really were. And it becomes his way of holding on to the connection by replaying those details in his mind again and again. When a man misses you, one of the strongest signs is how he begins to replay past moments with you. And this is not something he can control, because the mind has a way of holding on to memories that carry strong emotion. And when those emotions are tied to love, comfort, laughter, or connection, they rise up over and over again. And so when he's alone, when he's sitting quietly, when there are no distractions, his thoughts drift back to the times you shared together, almost like a movie playing in his head. And the more he misses you, the more vivid those memories become, because the absence creates space for the past to grow larger than the present. He'll think about your first date, how nervous he might have been, how you looked when you walked in, what you wore, what you ordered, how the conversation flowed. And that memory plays again and again because it carries the thrill of newness, the spark that started everything. And missing you makes him crave that feeling once more. So his mind replays it like a highlight reel, making him relive those small but powerful moments in detail. And each time he does, it deepens the ache inside him. He'll remember specific days that might not have even been that special to anyone else, but are unforgettable to him. Maybe the time you both stayed up too late talking about nothing and everything. Maybe the time you both got caught in the rain and laughed about it instead of getting mad. Maybe the time you surprised him with something small but thoughtful. And each of these memories becomes magnified, because when you're not around, those are the pieces of you he still has access to. And so he holds them tight, turning them over in his mind until they feel almost more real than the present moment he's in. He replays the little traditions you may have built together, like the way you always watched a certain show together, or the way you always ordered the same meal from a favorite spot. And when he misses you, those routines become symbolic, because they remind him not just of you, but of the comfort and security that came with being with you. And the mind is clever at drawing him back to those familiar places, so that even when he tries to distract himself, something as small as a song, a food, or even a scent can trigger the replay of those moments. He replays the arguments too, because missing you doesn't erase the full reality. Instead, it makes him rethink. It makes him revisit what was said, what could have been done differently, how things might have turned out if he had listened more or spoken less. And though those replays may sting, they also show how much he still cares. Because if you truly didn't matter, those arguments wouldn't echo. But when he misses you, he replays even the hard times, because they are still tied to you. And in replaying them, he secretly wishes for another chance to rewrite those chapters differently. Even the most ordinary memories become important when he misses you, like walking side by side, sitting in the car together, grocery shopping, or just lounging around. And he replays those because they carry the warmth of presence, the kind of everyday closeness that he now realizes was priceless. And the more he replays them, the more he feels the weight of what's gone, because the truth is that the ordinary becomes extraordinary once it is missing. And so those once simple moments now take up more space in his heart than he ever expected. Sometimes he even replays conversations word for word, remembering the exact tone of your voice, the way you phrased certain things, the laughter in between sentences, or the way you said his name. And these replays come to him at random times, while driving, while sitting alone, even while surrounded by people, because missing you creates a pull so strong that the mind slips into memory without warning, and he finds himself smiling or going silent, lost in a past moment that feels so alive in his head. And what makes these replays powerful is that they don't just remind him of what happened. They remind him of how he felt. And those feelings are the fuel that keep him tied to you in your absence. Because the body remembers the warmth, the joy, the connection, and missing you is simply the mind's way of holding on to that by pressing replay again and again. When a man misses you, one of the biggest giveaways is how his pride begins to slip. And this is something that doesn't come easy for most men, because pride is often the armor they wear to protect themselves, the mask they use to look strong, untouchable, in control. But when he really feels the loss of you, when the emptiness gets heavy, that pride he has carefully built starts to crack. And the cracks show in ways he can't fully hide, because missing someone with intensity has a way of breaking down walls, even the ones he swore he would never lower. In the beginning, he might try to resist it. He might act as if nothing bothers him. He might put on that front of being busy, unshaken, moving on with life. But the longer the silence goes on, the more his heart pushes against that wall of pride, and suddenly he starts doing things he once said he would never do, like reaching out first, apologizing without excuses, admitting he was wrong. And when a man gets to that point, it's clear that missing you has overpowered the pride that used to control him. You'll notice it in the way he speaks, because men with pride usually keep their words short, vague, sometimes even cold. But when he misses you and that pride is slipping, his tone changes. He becomes softer, more vulnerable. He says things that reveal he's been thinking about you more than he wants to admit. And even if he tries to package it casually, it comes out raw, because pride can hold back feelings for only so long before they spill through his words. It shows in his actions too, because pride normally keeps a man from chasing, from calling too much, from texting without a reason, from showing up unannounced. But when he misses you deeply, the weight of that absence pushes him past his own boundaries, and he begins doing things he never thought he'd do, like driving by places he knows you like to visit, commenting on your posts when he normally wouldn't, even reaching out to people close to you just to hear something about you. And every one of those actions is a sign that his pride is losing the battle against his emotions. The slipping of pride is also visible in the way he handles mistakes, because normally a man's ego makes it hard for him to admit fault. He might dodge responsibility or shift blame. But when missing you eats away at him, he starts to reconsider. He starts to reflect. He replays the arguments. He rethinks his choices. And for the first time, he may say, "I was wrong," without conditions attached. And that alone shows how powerful missing someone can be, because for many men, swallowing pride feels harder than anything. Yet missing you can make him do it. You'll also see his pride slip in the way he approaches communication, because he may start with excuses or casual lines, but as missing you grows heavier, the excuses fade and honesty starts to take over. Suddenly, he's not just texting to ask about random things. He's saying, I've been thinking about you, or I miss how we used to talk. And those are statements he wouldn't make if pride still had a grip on him. But when the heart takes over, the filters disappear and the real feelings come out, even in body language, you can notice pride slipping, because a man who's holding on to pride stands tall, avoids eye contact, keeps his posture firm. But a man who misses you loses that edge. His shoulders may slump, his eyes may linger longer, his expression soften. And when he finally faces you, it's almost impossible for him to mask the vulnerability, because missing you reshapes the way he carries himself, and it humbles him in a way no one else can. Another part of pride slipping is how he stops caring about appearances to others, because usually men guard their image. They don't want their friends to know they're struggling. They don't want anyone to think they're still hung up. But when the missing grows, he lets that image go. He may confess to a friend that he regrets losing you. He may admit he's been checking on you. He may even ask advice, things he would never do if pride was still his top priority. And that shows just how much the weight of your absence is changing him. What makes this so powerful is that pride is often the last thing men let go of. They will fight it, they will defend it, they will cling to it. But when they can't hide how much they miss you anymore, that pride starts to slip piece by piece, until eventually he's standing there with nothing but honesty showing, because missing you has stripped away the armor he thought would protect him. Misses you. One of the deepest signs you'll notice is how he starts planning a future with you in mind. And this doesn't always mean he comes right out and says it, but you can see it in his words, his habits, his conversations, because missing someone makes him realize that life feels incomplete without them. And that realization begins to shape the way he looks ahead. So instead of just remembering the past, his thoughts start drifting forward into possibilities, into what life could look like if you were by his side again. And this shift is one of the strongest signals that his missing you is more than just a passing feeling. He may begin to talk about places he wants to go and casually slip you into those plans, saying things like, we should check that out sometime, or you'd love it there. And those little phrases reveal that in his mind, he's already including you in his future experiences, because missing you has made him recognize that certain moments won't feel complete unless you're part of them. And so even his dreams and goals begin to quietly include your presence. When a man is missing you, he may start thinking differently about stability and commitment too, because absence can make him realize what he took for granted. And that recognition plants new thoughts in his head. He might begin talking more seriously about wanting a home, about wanting to settle down, about wanting to create a life that's steady. And though he may not directly say with you, his language and energy make it clear that his missing you is tied to wanting you there. When those future chapters unfold, he might even start making practical adjustments, things that don't seem huge on the surface, but carry meaning, like considering career decisions with more long-term thinking, talking about saving money or planning trips, choosing hobbies that he knows you'd enjoy too. And these shifts are subtle signs that missing you has changed the way he imagines his life. Because instead of just thinking about himself, his mind begins to picture the both of you together in the years ahead. You'll notice it in conversations about time as well. Because when men miss you, they don't just say, I remember when. They begin to say, next time, or when we do this again. And those phrases are filled with intention. They are tiny previews of how he is mentally writing you into what comes after today. Because missing someone strongly enough doesn't let you stay stuck in memories alone. It pulls you into dreaming about what's next. And those dreams almost always include the person he can't stop thinking about. Sometimes he will show it in the way he tries to reconnect with routines you once shared, like bringing up the idea of going back to your favorite spot, mentioning how much he misses the traditions you had. And from there, you'll notice how his mind starts shaping those traditions into the future, not just as something lost, but as something he wants to revive and continue. And that shift from longing for the past to imagining the future shows clearly that the missing has turned into planning. Another layer of this is how he starts to talk about self-improvement. Because when a man truly misses you, he doesn't just dwell on the absence. He thinks about what he can do differently to be better if he ever gets the chance again. So he may talk about working on his habits, his patience, his communication, or even his lifestyle. Because planning a future with you means he wants to create a version of himself that is ready to handle it. And those kinds of adjustments don't come from casual feelings. They come from missing someone deeply enough to want to change. Even the way he interacts with others may reveal this planning mindset, because he might talk to his friends or family in ways that show he's thinking about long-term life moves. He may ask for advice about relationships. He may share ideas about building something more stable. And those conversations often circle back to the influence of missing you, because without you, he sees the gap in his life more clearly. And that gap pushes him toward imagining how to fill it, not with anyone random, but with the person who made him feel complete. And when he talks to you, if he does, the hints will be there. He might say things like, if we had another chance, or this time I do things differently, or even I can see us doing this together. And while those words may seem light on the surface, they are actually the clearest proof that missing you has reshaped the way he looks at tomorrow, because it means he's no longer only focused on what's gone, he's envisioning what could return. And that is one of the most powerful signs that his missing you has become something he can't hide